You guys hear that? Well, neither do I. That is the sound of me being firmly in charge today. Stick around. We got a great no vacancy coming up for you. Today is December 15th, 2021.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hey, everybody. Glenn Hausman here. I hope everyone's having a fun and fantastic today. Today's episode number 553 of the No Vacancy Podcast. I'm super excited to be reaching such high numbers, and that's all because of the support of each and every one of you out there. I hope all of you had a chance to sit back and listen to me on Fish Radio last night. That's right. I hosted Crowd Control Series XM Channel 29 at 7 p.m., but if you missed it like somehow I missed it as well, don't worry. You could get a new version of it Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern. They're rerunning it from popular demand. No, because that's what they do every week, but I'm sure people got a kick out of it anyway. I had a lot of fun recording that, and it was so much fun being featured on the same network as my favorite band. All right, today we're going to be talking about technology. We're going to be talking about why it is so absolutely important to be thinking about technology in the future, and I mean from the point of view of actually making it practical to improve your businesses, make you more successful. And I think we're going to try to get into what it is psychologically that keeps people from investing in technology. Now, to do all of this, I've got a great guest today. I got Aditya Thyagarajan from Hotel Key. Great to see you, man. Welcome. How are you today?
Hey, Glenn. Glenn, how are you doing? Thank you. Thank you for having me. Excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, I'm excited too, mostly because I got Thyagarajan correctly on the first shot out of there. Hey, who's better?
You're one of the few guys who have got it right. Now, I barely even hear my last name, So
that's true. It's very, very complicated for people to think. And I think the reason why you have trouble is the same reason people refuse to tell my twins apart, because people don't look close enough. They don't pay attention close enough, right? Now, my two kids, one's got really long hair, one's got short hair. You should really be able to connect the dots there and figure out who's who, but people aren't breaking it down to the syllables. They're not thinking about the thigh. They're not thinking about the ag or the arajan, right? And just putting it all together. Not that difficult. But then again, I like language. I got into English, and you could tell because I won't stop talking today, Addy. But thank you so much for being. Hey, Kim. Hey, Colleen. What's up, Daniel? Good to see everybody today. Thank you so much for joining. So, Addy, this is really cool because you're born in India, so you were exposed to different types of sports than us American people over here. You got into cricket, I guess, at an early age because somehow you became a world-class cricket player playing for the American team. So hopefully this show will go less time than a cricket match. And a traditional cricket match goes. But I'd love to hear a little bit about how you got involved in that. But before we do that, I'm super interested to hear what the deal is with cricket, how it differs from American sports, and why folks in India and Indian Americans and people in the Caribbean seem to have embraced it and love it so freaking much.
Yeah. Wow, it's been a while since I spoke about cricket, but
Yep.
yeah, when you sort of grow
That's
up.
all right. Usually when I speak, I get crickets. So, we got a lot in common over there.
Yeah, so when you grow up in India, it's like you go to school the same
Right.
way you play cricket. I mean,
Yeah.
it is like what everybody does, and I must have been 4 or 5 years old. Started playing cricket with my father, grandfather on the streets, and then just watching it on TV, continued to learn the game, and since I was 5 till I was 21, before I moved to Santa Barbara to UCSB for my grad school, the only thing I did was play cricket, and everything else, including studies, my undergraduate and engineering, all of that was after cricket, right?
So you played for decades then. So what was that? 3 matches total that you got? I joke because it seems like I know a little bit about cricket, so you're going to correct me, and audience, let me know what you think as well. But traditional cricket doesn't have a specific end to it, right? That's why they had to create all these new rules and stuff like that to create shorter matches that fit people's attention spans, right?
Exactly. The original game went on for 5 days. Started by the English. It has
Right.
like lunch. It has a
Right.
break.
Let's take tea time breaks.
Uh, yeah, and so yeah, and then as the game continued to grow, all the English colonies, whether it was
Right.
India, the Caribbean, and places like Australia, all of these places, cricket is close to being the number one sport, right?
Right.
It's similar like in America how you have NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL.
Yeah, it's
All
pretty
these
amazing.
cricket is on TV 24/7.
Yeah.
So, growing up, all of us, like guys like me, our only aspiration in life was to play for India,
Mhm.
which, I was not able to. I played for the Indian under-19s team, which was, you play. And then, so, that was sort of the first 20 years was all about cricket.
Right. But then you decide to do a David Beckham, come over here and take over American cricket, right? That's pretty cool. So you don't play at all anymore?
I just play in the leagues in Los Angeles. There are about
Right.
48 teams which play in the LA area. They call it the Southern California Cricket League. So
Mhm.
I just play on the weekends now.
Right.
But
So
but
yeah,
I haven't got into coaching and schools because having a startup and your own sort of company, all those things, you don't have time. But I just try to play on the weekend now.
right. Well, that's pretty cool. I don't know, man. Forget doing the startup. I would just run back and forth between those two
Between the
posts
weekends.
all day long. I think that's awesome. But I will give everybody a little piece of advice out there. If you're doing a major hotel industry event, and if it falls at the same time as a major cricket event, have a room with TVs and some bottles of brown spirits, and you will make a lot of people really, really happy. Right?
Yeah.
All right. So Colleen wants to know, hey, what is the sport? What is the sport like? It's kind of baseball is sort of like
Yeah.
it, but not really at all, right?
Yeah. So it's like baseball, there are differences. I mean, the simple fact is, look, there is a ball gonna be thrown to you,
Right.
and you need
Mhm.
to hit the ball. And
Mhm.
the farther you hit, the more runs you make. So in like the simplest form, if you're having a bar room discussion, cricket is similar to baseball,
Yeah.
but
But
then everything sort of changes after that. In baseball,
yeah,
you can't pitch the ball or bounce it. In cricket, you can bounce it on somebody's head, and you won't have two people fighting like baseball. So
yeah.
both games are difficult. And in 2009, I appeared in a Fox Sports series called Sports Science, which was
Mhm.
watched all over the world.
Yeah.
I was with the Arizona Diamondbacker at the time. I forget the name with who, and we had this cricket versus baseball, sort of series, and it was interesting, right? Because
Right.
both games are unique. No game is more difficult than the other, but I would say cricket is closest to baseball when it comes to like comparison with American sport.
Right. So a lot of guys sitting on the sidelines eating sunflower seeds. That kind of how that goes.
It's like cricket more like French fries and beer, probably.
Yeah, right. I used to love going to baseball matches as a kid, and like you would see the guys in the dugout, like eating the hot dogs and all of that kind of stuff, and picking out. And then, of course, back in the '70s and early '80s, everybody had chewing tobacco and stuff like that, which got replaced by the sunflower seeds. But things got much more healthy with baseball, which is probably why I lost a little bit of interest in that sport. So, Addy, how did you transform yourself into someone that was interested in hospitality related technology, which will get us to how you became co-founder and president of Hotel Key, which focuses on property management, CRS, RMS, POS, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so actually, cricket again was a very important part there. So in
Mhm.
2001, when I moved to America to do my grad school at UC Santa Barbara, I
Mhm.
would play in the leagues in California, and that's where Fareed and I met first in
Mhm.
2001. Fareed was working for IBM. He's the
The other
co-founder,
co-founder. Mhm.
CEO. Yeah, living in Bay Area. And I finished my grad school, and it's funny. the only thing I've done till now since school is PMS. So prior to Hotelki, like how Fareed had a 10-year career at IBM, 10 plus year, I worked for a company called Yardi. Yardi is about 7,000 employees,
Right.
world leaders in PMS for commercial and apartments in multifamily. So I did that. And then when I was living in Bay Area in 2015, Fareed and I got together and we were talking about, hey, have done this corporate life for a while. Is there anything interesting we could do around cloud, mobile,
Right.
Apple, Amazon, all these buzzwords we were thinking, data, AI. So we were just throwing ideas around. And then while
I
playing,
got an idea. Think of a new word besides cloud. For some reason, I can't stand everything's up in the cloud. It really bothers me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm
no.
frustrated over here, Addy.
Yeah, so and then I knew hoteliers since 2001. Hoteliers who owned small independent hotels, everybody playing sort of cricket. So there was a cricket connection in understanding how a hotel works, and then getting to know Fareed. And then we were like, okay, let's build this property management system for hotels. And then we were like, how can we be different? So I don't know if you know this. So we actually built a PMS as an app. So what would happen in 2015 is you buy an iPad, you install our app, and boom, you're good to go. And that is what we sort of that's the technology we sort of backed on. And that's what today, when you go to any G6 hospitality hotel, a Motel 6 or a Studio 6, or any extended stay America, in the front desk, all you have is an iPad app. And then, you do your PMS, housekeeping, maintenance, everything. And obviously, we then expanded to making it work on a web browser, laptop, PC, all that. But we actually came in saying, look, there are so many PMS companies, having a product on a computer laptop, how can we be different? That was sort of how we entered, and we got a few independents live. And then our sort of the founder's luck was G6 Hospitality.
Right. Yeah, I love the folks over at G6 Hospitality, and we've had Greg Jassim on the show before. We've had Rob Palesci on the show before.
Yeah.
They're really good dudes that are opening to listening, learning, and thinking about the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Great guys. And, today we are 250 plus employees. Hotelki is about 2,500 plus hotels live, and lot of credit goes to what we learned from the G6 guys. Great guys, as you said. Greg, Rob Palacci, the entire team. So a lot. That was sort of where we learned, and it has been a great experience with G6.
That's great. So, how did you get involved with those guys to begin with? Because that's always a challenge. I mean, when you're coming from the outside, you don't have a huge Rolodex of contact. Wow, what did I just use a really old thing? You don't have a Microsoft Outlook thing full of contacts over there. So, how do you wind up, making that transformation and getting people's attention for somebody that's unheard of and a product that's unknown?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I said, we started this in 2014, 15. Fareed was brilliant, worked out, came up with this product in 6 months, 8 months. We were live at independent hotels. And as you sort of know in the industry, when you talk about the economy segment, there are hoteliers who own, let's say, 2 or 3 independent hotels. They own a Motel 6. They could own a Red Roof, or a brand like that. So then somebody really liked our product, and at a G6 convention, the franchisee Manish Patel, who was instrumental for us, he went and spoke to the G6 executives saying, "Hey guys, if you're looking for a product," they wanted to get off what they were on. Look at this company from California. I don't know the name. They do something on iPad. Just take a look. And that is really how it started. And then, as G6 has their entire process like any brand. So we went through that selection cycle, and sort of here we are today, and we are live with them for 5 years, and it has been great. So it really was that a franchisee talking to G6, and that sort of speaks to the brand, right? So that is where G6 is one of the brands which sort of looks at what their franchisees tell them and considers. So that's sort of why they have so many happy campers out there.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So you've got a bunch of products that are in different segments, but really what we're talking about is pulling all of these different things together, which prior to Hotel Key and other companies that are out there, they really didn't incorporate a lot of this overall type of functionality. The way that I've always seen it, Addy, is the property management system is great, but it became the de facto brains and connection for everything else in the hotel, even though that was not its original purpose. But technology and time have demanded that. So with you being in the cloud from the ground up, that allows you to rethink everything. And my guess is you don't have to deal with all of those integrations that a lot of the hospitality industry has struggled with over the last 2 decades.
Yeah. Exactly. So using a combination of architecture. I will not use the word cloud.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And if anybody out there has got a better name, let me know and let's make it happen. All right.
I
Thank
will say I will say the latest architecture and the great things which have happened in the industry. We leaned on that, and yeah, exactly. When we would talk to hoteliers, they would say, look, we have to go to a company X for PMS system, another company for CRS, somebody for POS. So what we started doing, obviously, with our PMS, the property management solution, was our flagship product, still is.
Mhm.
But really we started adding all these other products, and in a very simple,
Right.
this may be a industry term, and we really try to build a hotel in a box, right? We are like, look, I mean, and one of our things that we have a box and send out the equipment. Somebody can just be live, you connect to Expedia, you connect to Booking, you have your POS for your shop or restaurants, everything in sort of one architecture. But I think where we try to stand out, and I
Right.
think that's what most cloud companies today do too. Most of the modern companies is
Mhm.
using that architecture. You can either use a POS built by us, or you can connect to a POS which is sort of out there already, right? So that
Right.
is the flexibility of that modern architecture which we really bet on.
Mhm. Right. That makes a whole lot of sense. So when you're thinking about uh, PMS and CMS and RMS and POS, one of the questions that people say in the industry is that you should concentrate on one thing because
Yeah.
otherwise, you can't be good at everything. How do you dispel that rumor? Because to me, all of these things, they may be different buckets, but really they're all kind of the same thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, so what we really do is we have independent product teams, right? So you have an independent team where you have a product manager to, let's say, who focuses on POS, and then you have developers who work on POS, right? So somebody working on a product outside of PMS, as an example, doesn't need to get into. So it's you have your segregated. So you kind of think of it like it is sub companies within a company, right? I mean, it's really what we are doing at, let's say, a smaller scale than what an Apple might be doing. They have Alphabet, they have all these sort of companies, Google does, right? So things like that. Same way, we have, that's how we segregate it, and we are able to focus on products. We don't have the same person working on everything. And the same thing we do with our clients, right? We have
Right.
a specific team for the 400 plus independent and boutique clients we have, and then we have specific teams for our G6 and ES6. So that is how we segregate, with our products and clients, and we make sure that we are not, lagging behind in PMS because we are doing a bunch of POS stuff, right?
Right. Yeah. Interesting. So, how are things changing? And I'll just set this up because I know you watch the show, but you've never been on the show. And for folks that might be tuning in for the first time, one of the things over COVID we were talking about is we're not reinventing everything. The trends are accelerating. Everything that you're focused on right now was in the marketplace beforehand, but now it seems we've gone from 0 to 60, creating the impression that a lot of this stuff is all new, right? So, um, what are you thinking about that hoteliers really need today? And how is that changing from where we were prior to COVID? Understanding that really it's an acceleration of trends, people and their behavior have not really changed.
Yeah, so I think, the number one thing what, we have seen and what I have seen is I think staffing, right? So, forget about technology and forget about everything, all these cool things. It's all about staffing, right? People, in the past also have ran into attrition, getting new employees, training them, etc. Right now, it is even difficult to even get these employees back to hotels. Right. So I think the number one, in my opinion, the number one thing coming out of COVID is staffing. Right. So now, when you look at sort of strategies which are being made in boardrooms, you look at somebody like us who provides sort of technology,
Right.
everything we are doing really is to address that issue, right? So what we build our products which are easy to train, easy to use, again, because staffing is difficult to find. People are moving from one hotel to another, or are going from a hotel to a different industry, or vice versa,
Right.
right?
Yep.
So I would say, companies, like even brands or hotels, are definitely going to look at technology and easy to use products, because they need to cater to that staffing issue which has come up with COVID, right? So I would
Right.
say, from, there are a lot of things to look at, right? Like ADRs have gone down a little bit, leisure travel business, all these
Yeah.
buzzwords are, but I think, in my opinion, staffing is the biggest issue, which
It certainly is. And it's one of the things we keep hearing over and over and over again. So it's interesting to me that what we're seeing here is lots of different trends, I think, coming together. And I think finally, people in the hospitality industry are always reluctant, reticent, whatever fancy word that you want to use, to invest in technology. But because of the current employment situation, and because people in general are reevaluating their lives, and there's all of this churn of how people are going to work, it's kind of forcing hoteliers now to adapt to the technology that they probably should have done several years ago. But now their ears are open and they're hearing probably more what you have to say. Is that a fair assessment?
absolutely, really, when this whole thing hit in Feb 2020,
Yeah.
like anybody, Farid and I were concerned, like how, the brand CEOs were concerned, right? Because
Right.
we knew the number one thing, including like all of us, like you and me, right? What did we do? We stopped going out, right? So
Right.
hotels require you to leave your house, and that is the fundamental, right? If you're not leaving your house, how are you going to fill your rooms, right? But
Yep.
it's interesting, right? It is going to be 2 years since that time, right? Like, Feb 2020, and companies like us, I think, have seen an increase in queries coming in.
Yep.
Even brands have started, going out there and looking at how you can implement cost effective, easy to use
Right.
technology. And really, right, like everything we do, if you look at our whiteboard, the first thing, I mean, it would say, or it should say, is cost effective and easy to use.
Right.
Everything else, like you said, right, like somebody could be on Amazon cloud, somebody on Google cloud, all that comes later. But I think
Mhm.
the first thing is, build something which is cost effective,
Right.
and second is, it has to be easy to use.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, aforementioned Manish Patel says it's easy to train new employees. And what's interesting to me, and I'll get to my statement in 1 second, but Benjamin is saying, yeah, I like this guy. He looks at the problem from a realistic point of view, as opposed to what
Thank
sounds
you,
from the
Benjamin.
boardroom. And thanks everybody for commenting on LinkedIn, on Facebook. I know you're all watching on YouTube as well, so thank you for all of that. But the easy to train thing is so absolutely essential. And one of the things that really frustrates me that I don't get from you is that people that are making decisions on building or buying technology don't think about how they live and use technology in their own lives a lot of ways. And there seems to be an incredible disconnect between that. It's like, I want this when I stay at a hotel, but no, I'm not going to pay. I'm not going to pay for that to put it into my hotel. It seems to be like this weird dichotomy. Are you seeing that out there? And if so, how are you getting people to realize that this is the way we live, work, and breathe, and need to go down this road?
Yeah, so one of our things, right? So you sort of showed the phone, right?
Yeah.
Is really, one of the mantras, we believe in. If you know how to use a phone, irrespective of what kind of education you have seeked,
Right.
you should be able to use technology to run an asset, right? Because you
Right.
really are. So yeah, so I mean, we sometimes, like all companies, we see pushback to change, right? But But I think I can definitely vouch for, what we have seen over the last 15 months is,
Right.
people are getting into that mode. They want touch screen thing. They want to be able to see data while they are not at the hotel, right? Earlier, you remember, if you're a hotelier, you've gone to India for a vacation, like a lot of our hoteliers are from India. They are
And for
calling.
people that are going to India, how about going to your kid's cricket match down the street, right? You're
Yeah.
going to be there for 5 days anyway. You might as well get some work done.
Yeah, so things like that, right? Like touch screen, easy to use, access to data anywhere. People are definitely crossing that barrier and saying,
Right.
look, if it is easy for me to use my iPhone, if I can do banking on, let's say, my iPhone, if I'm able to message and stay in touch with everybody, then I should be able to do that with the technology at my hotel, right?
That's
So
right.
yeah, so we try to read these trends, look at what millennials and Generation Z, whatever the generation is,
Yeah,
because
Generation Z is the newest one. That's what my kids are all about. Yeah.
yeah, because they are going to be your guest, and they are going to be people who will work at your hotels, right? So you have to
Yeah.
have technology which they can sort of relate to.
I also hear they've given up now. Now that they're at Z, they're actually just going to go back to A, the next generation. No joke. I think it's called Generation Alpha. So yeah, so they shouldn't have started at X to begin with. That was the big mistake right there. They boxed themselves into a named corner. But Addy, so I love that all of this stuff is coming together for you, and obviously it's got to be simple that we've talked about. What are some of the things that you think in general need to be worried about in order to make the guest experience seamless and more personalized to what they're doing? Because you're talking about CRS, you're talking about RMS, and then cashing them out with the POS. So you really need to understand who they are, figure out how to maximize revenue for each individualized person. But of course, we know trends today are all about, I want it now and I want it in my way. So how can you help hoteliers get more into that mindset and use mass customization to create individualized experiences, as opposed to just hoping everybody wants every single thing?
Yeah, I think, look, I think you and I and everybody watching this show are also guests at a hotel, right? So really,
Yep.
you think of it, and all of us are on our phones, are doing things. One of the things I see, one of the big trends coming in are the pre-arrival guest experience and the
Right.
post checkout, right? Which
Right. So
is
for me, the pre-arrival guest experience is let us know when you're here. So when I show up, the room won't be ready. That's pretty much the arrival experience that I get with pre-arrival. Or they tell me I could use a digital key, and then they're like, well, you have to come to the front desk. So how are you going to improve it? I mean, fortunately, the bar is really low over there.
So what, yeah, so the first thing you spoke about, which is regard the room, right? All of us have experienced it. We have already sent a message on, we have called the hotel and said, hey hotel, I'm going to be there at 3 p.m, can you have my room? Normally what happens is it goes into remarks on your reservation, and it doesn't go anywhere, right? What new technology can do is, from your phone you can say, hey, I'm coming in at 4 p.m. It goes to the front desk, and it automatically goes to the head housekeeper, right? When you have all your data in one place, you can have all your applications looking at that one sort of data element, right? So a lot of things like that you can do, because earlier, somebody had to call the head housekeeper, right? Now you should not. If a guest is saying, hey, 4 p.m, using the technology we have, it should go to front desk manager, it should go to head housekeeper, you do that. And now, the big thing is, you should be able to provide an upselling opportunity to the guest on your phone, because most of us going for a vacation, right? Like, when I'm going in, like, let's say going to Vegas, I'm looking to upgrade my room, right? So all these kind of things, you should be able to provide a link so you can sort of make a reservation at a restaurant at the hotel. So all these things can help. Look, the upselling, you can make a reservation at your a restaurant or bar. All of this has two things, right? It can improve your guest experience, and it can also help the hotel make that extra revenue, and everything adds up, right? And I think
Right.
that's one big thing with guests. I think people will look for that integration where they can talk to multiple departments, right? Like whatever they if they say, hey, 4 p.m., the restaurant should know they're coming in at 6 p.m. for reservation, or head housekeeper should know.
Right.
Then the second thing I see is the entire contactless experience, right? And whether that is done using a phone, whether that's done having a screen next to the PMS, or whether
Right.
it's done with having a kiosk, however that's done, that's going to be the big thing. So the two things I think the Gen A, or Z1 are going to ask for is, as a guest, without me having to talk to anybody, how can I book activities? How can I, communicate? A, and B, I think they'll be like, when I come to the hotel, how do I get to my room? So I think
Right.
these are two big things which companies like us need to focus. Otherwise, we
Right.
will lose our guests.
Particularly if you're talking about the Opryland in Nashville, you can't find your room no matter what you try to do in that place. But they actually incorporated over there. Now you can do a wayfinder, and they'll get you to your room. Not to make fun of that hotel, but that hotel didn't have a master plan. Kind of grew up in a weird way, and it's created an unusual situation for people to get from area to area to area in that massive place. So Craig is saying. Now, guys, tune into us on Friday Night Audit, Friday night, 5 p.m. Eastern time, where we meet Makai the puppy. If they track you, Glenn, then your check-in can be even later. Very good point. But if I'm not there, what do I care, right?
Yeah.
As long as the room is ready when I show up. And I would like to be given opportunities, like you said, Addy, to accentuate my experience. Maybe I do want to get that upgrade. Maybe because you have been collecting information that's readily available, you can say, hey, do you want XYZ type of local beer that we have here? We know that you enjoy that sort of thing. You can start to rack up those sales in a way that is adding to the customer's experience rather than subtracting from the customer experience, right? All right, hold on. Craig is asking, producer Suzanne, does Glenn get to use the sound effects today? She's not here. Anthony's not here. So I get to do anything I want. Let's hear it from me. Like I get, it's so funny because it's like my show, and like I can't do anything I want, Addy, on other days, but I am a little bit more reserved typically. So let me ask you this then, Addy, what is it that is keeping hoteliers who know all of this stuff from really connecting all of those dots in a meaningful way? Why, after me complaining about this stuff for decades now, are we still not there? And how are we going to solve this problem?
I think it's one simple thing, right? Like all of us experience that in our lives, which is change, right?
Yep.
Is change, like what happened to me, right? Leaving, California after 16 years, and 2 years I came back. It's just the change,
Yep.
right? So I think the biggest thing is, for hoteliers, what I see here to adopt technology which is easier, which is more cost effective, which is cooler, whatever, not and anything else in life. I think the sort of getting used to change is very important.
Right.
That said, again, companies like us, like Hotel Key, need to focus on change management, right? So that's the biggest thing, right? Like people being afraid of change because
Right.
they all know this new stuff is what's going to help everybody.
Well, psychologically speaking, though, change is difficult on anybody, even much needed change. It's a painful thing to go through. But typically, once you get to the other side of change, you're in a much better position overall. So you're not just dealing with the hotel industry, you're dealing with human psychology and the fear of change and the attitude of we've always done it this way, so that's why we're doing it that way, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'll sort of talk one one of our experiences. We had this really basic independent hotel where we had our software on the iPad, and guest comes in and they just turn the iPad,
Right.
like happens at restaurants, and the guest signs there, right? And the guest is like, whoa, this hotel has this feature. And when I go to some of the other hotels, more expensive hotels, I sometimes have to wait for the registration card to be printed and all that, right? So there is definitely a demand. I think it's the main thing is hotels and brands. It's the change management piece. I think to
Yeah.
answer your question, what's holding people back? I think it's not cost. I mean, cost is a factor. I think
Mhm.
it's change and change management, right? And that falls
Right.
both on businesses and hotels and on folks like us. Like, we have to make change management more seamless than it has been in the past.
That's right. Marcus Lewis talking to us from Facebook is got a great point here. Hoteliers aren't there because they don't have time to learn and implement with all the other hats they wear. That's exactly one of the problems, right? It's not, I think it's multiple problems contributing to this, but I think he's right on in that regard, because I don't know about you, in my life, I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks because things will slow down. I'm going to get to all that stuff I've been saying I'm going to get to for the last 6 months, right?
Yeah, and what Mark said is kind of similar to what I was trying to say, right? Like, only when you make change management easy, right?
Right.
That is when you can address what Marcus is saying. That is when a hotelier who's already wearing 10 hats can venture into the 11th hat, which is upgrading their technology. Oh, that's only if you make
Yeah.
change management like 10 times easier and faster, right?
Right. Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, what we're really getting to here, I think, the whole crux of this conversation is, in order to be successful with technology, you have to rethink how you're doing other things in your life, how you need to make those changes in order to be able to compete, figure out what is preventing you from making those changes so you could be unleashed and get great ROI on a good product that'll help engage your people better. Yeah, Mark says exactly, Addy. That's pretty interesting. So, looking at what your all of the features and stuff like that, right? I know you focus closely on the trends, and I'm sure you figure out all of the next big things happening from watching No Vacancy Live here 4 days a week at noon Eastern time. But aside from that, how do you know when something is a trend and must be addressed and isn't just a fad that's here today and going to be gone tomorrow? And I'm thinking, like, for example, a lot of the COVID measures that were put in place always, to me, seem temporary, though people felt like that they were going to be forever.
Best way to learn is listen to the hotelier.
Mm-hmm.
That's something we have followed from day one, and that's what
Yep.
we will continue to follow for how many ever years we are in this industry, and we want to be in the industry for a long time.
Right.
Yes, I think to your point, right? Like, you can obviously read all these buzzwords, as I said, data and technology, but the best thing you sort of learn is uh, you know is from the hoteliers, and that is what both Farid and I, from a hotel key perspective, instead of trying to build things in the lab,
Mm-hmm.
what we do is, when we are building something new, we work with the hotel and
Right.
engage them, and that's the best way to do it. Look, I mean, these guys, the hoteliers, have been doing this for, some of them for 20 years, 40
Yeah.
years, maybe 5 years, and they see it every day, right? So, to your point, trends, like, all of us can understand, and avenues like your show are extremely important too, where you have sort of leaders share their views. All of that is, I would say, a great starting point. But I think the hotelier, working with the hotelier, going to a hotel, standing at the front desk. So we do this a
Right.
lot. Go to a hotel, stand there, you learn a lot, actually, and
Right.
that is sort of where we try to understand trends.
Right. Honestly, I love what you're doing over there, but I think I'm most excited so we don't have to do this. Oh, hello. I'll check you into the room for like 20 minutes. What are you doing? What are you doing with your DOS-based system that still has green letters on a black screen? Come on. Let's get this thing updated. Dr. Professor, I don't know why you're not here hanging out with us backstage right now, but hoteliers can change the world if we would only listen to them and invest in the technology that they need to accomplish it. I think that's a really great point. I think sometimes entrepreneurs have an idea about what they think is right, as opposed to really understanding what the marketplace is and the needs and the desires, and then creating a product that solves those problems, as opposed to solving a problem that doesn't exist and hoping people come along to it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And to Suzanne's point, right? I mean, you have to. That's what we try to do too, and that's what I think every company should do is invest in what hoteliers want.
Right.
Uh,
Yep. All right. So Mike is saying there's a principle in coaching called shoot the gaps, which explains the importance of looking for opportunities where changing your game plan will push you forward. Innovation is adapting to change is critical. Right. That's why I encourage everybody to get the book, The Adapters, that I wrote with Sean Worker this past year. I haven't, Addy, I have not been promoting my stuff enough. So I'm going a little out of control here today. Get The Adapters right now on Amazon.com. Sean Worker.
awesome. Woohoo!
Hausman. We'll teach you how to adapt and innovate. As a matter of fact, Daddy, we're going to be doing that at the Radisson's annual conference in February in Vegas, helping teach those folks how to do that. So how do you, Addy, think about adapting and innovating in general, and when it comes to what you're doing over there at Hotel Key?
Yeah. So, again, right? Like how we adapt and innovate is, we sort of listen to what the hospitality market is saying. And one other thing, we do is look at companion markets, right? So we look at what's happening, let's say, in the retail industry. We say what's happening at property management softwares being used in commercial and multifamily, right? So I would say, it's sort of, three things, right? One is generally what's happening worldwide, right? The move to internet as an example, 30 plus years back. So look at all of that. Then you look at specifically what your industry wants.
Right.
And I think the most important thing, which many people, I think companies probably don't do, is it's a good idea to look at companion sort of market, and as an example, retail, right? Like there's a lot to learn, what they have done
Right.
to make that really what happens in a retail store. Yeah, I know you're buying an item, right? But in a sense, you're doing a check-in, check-out. You're checking into the store, you're buying an item, you're checking out, right?
Right.
And they are doing it so quickly. Why not at hotels, to your point? Why does it take you 20 minutes to stand there to check in when you go when you go to buy like a beer or a bottle of soda, you're in and out, right? So that's something we focus on a lot, which is how quickly can we do the processing, right? So things like being able to scan an ID or scan a passport. Like, why should I type your name when scanners are around all over the place, right? Just things like that.
You would have gone crazy shopping at Radio Shack back in the 80s and 90s.
I remember Radio Shack.
For those of you who don't remember Radio Shack, they had great stuff there if you wanted to build your own like computers and electronics and stuff like that. But anytime you wanted to make a purchase, they would like ask you 1,000 different pieces of information: name, address, phone number, the date of birth, but who's the first girl that you went out in high school with, that kind of stuff. And then they wouldn't do anything with all of that information, and they'd ask the same things over and over and over again, and that frustrated me as a customer. Hopefully, Addy, with the great stuff that you're doing over there, you're eliminating all those problems. You're creating seamlessness. You're creating experiences that people buy like that, and they are satisfied. Now, I'll tell you, I was over at Resorts World in Las Vegas, and they're very focused on technology over there. First time I saw a store where you go in, you scan your phone with like Samsung Pay or Apple Pay or whatever it is, and then you get all your items. You just scan it, and then you just scan your phone again to walk out the turnstiles, and you're done. They're making the retail experience easy and fun, and I guarantee once you scan your phone to go in there, people are going to wind up spending more money.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what we spoke about a few minutes back, right? Like hotels or brands will want to have technology which makes it easier to upsell, makes it easier to process things faster, right? Because look, guests want to go, when you're going on leisure travel, you want to be able to book stuff, upgrade a room, things like that. And that's exactly, I think, to your point at Resort World, right? Once you've used the technology, now you're going to use it across the resort instead of going to Let's Win or Encore, right? To buy something, you just end up buying it there. I mean, that's just human nature, right?
Yep. I highly recommend that resort. It was pretty cool. Suzanne mentions the Wiz. They used to have ads. Nobody beats the Wiz, but they went bankrupt and out of business. So I guess everybody beat them except Crazy Eddie, because he went out of business too. But I think he fled to Israel or something like that. All right, Addy, Any final thoughts before we let you do a good, crazy, shameless plug for Hotel Key? Any final thoughts, sir?
No, I think firstly, thanks for the opportunity. I love your show. It's sort of a great place to learn, the trends, what's going on in the industry, and again, we at Hotel Key, one thing we drill into the 250 plus employees in US, Eastern Europe, and back in Asia is that you continue to learn. I think nobody is perfect, and we learn, we adapt, and whatever we build has to make life easier for the hotel and its guest. Otherwise, to us, to me personally, it's of no use, right? So I think
no, it's of no use to anybody. It's an exercise in futility, right? Hey, Gordon is asking, what are the measures needed to be taken to ensure privacy information protection for hotels? More technology adds doors for invasion. I keep talking to voice activated people, and they assure you there's privacy and stuff like that. But how do you approach privacy?
Yeah, so obviously, you have to invest in technology, which is going to help with that, right? So starts with sort of using the right cloud architecture to begin with, so you don't have these penetration attacks, etc. Second thing is, you now, if you're storing credit card information in your database or your system, that should be an absolute no, because there is already tokenization. There are companies who do that. That would be two. And the third thing regarding the personal information, right? Like the technology today enables you to hide and mask data, which people at the hotel should probably not see, right? So the three things, right? You look at it, the right cloud architecture, tokenize your credit card, and the third thing is, make sure that data masking, if it is available, people should use it, so people are not looking at things which they should not. While so I would say, that's a great point. Right? Technology is great, but companies need to invest in making sure that there is protection. And I think that's what we, as in we, and I think I'm sure all other companies which do things like us, we have a dedicated department to focus on that, right? So I think.
Right. So then let me ask you one question. Obviously, it's not your expertise, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What are you thinking about cryptocurrencies and their role in hospitality and blockchain in general? Any thoughts?
Like I would say, like, Apple Pay and Google Pay came in. I don't know too much about Bitcoin, cryptocurrency.
Fair enough. That's, like I said, not your thing. Yep.
But I would not be surprised if it came into our industry.
Yep. Yeah, and it seems to be doing that. I'm a advisor for EV hotels, and they're focused a lot on the crypto stuff. So it'll be an interesting story to watch there. All right. All right, Craig, you can nominate me for the International Hospitality Institute Award. I totally would like award. And just in case you guys know, No Vacancy Live received a Davy Awards last month for being awesome in marketing. It was a gold medal. So, hey, No Vacancy. Addy, now that I've plugged myself, you get to plug yourself and Hotel Key. What do you want people to know, and how can they find you?
Oh, yeah. So Hotel Key, we are on the internet, www.hotelkeyapp.com. And the mantra of our company is simple, secure, mobile. That's like the three terms we want to be known for.
Excellent. Thank you, Addy. I appreciate it. Make sure you guys find them at hotelkeyapp.com. That's hotelkeyapp.com. Don't Google Hotel Key, or else you might find yourself staying at a hotel in Flushing, Queens. All right. So Hotel Key App. Thank you, Addy. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Do me a favor. Hang out backstage for a sec. Let me wrap up. I'd like to say goodbye to you officially. All right.
Cool. I'll be there.
All right. Aditya Thyagarajan, everybody. That was really great. And for all of you that enjoyed this and you don't want to rewatch this show, well, why not re-listen to the show? Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher. You know the drill by now. Wherever you download your shows, well, that's where we are. Be sure to follow us. I'm at Traveling Glenn, and Anthony is at Anthony Hotels. We'll be back tomorrow with another great show with the one and only Bruce Ford. And I believe my Friday night audit co-host, Craig Sullivan, is going to be joining the fun. So we may get a little bit of a feel for what it's like to be doing Friday night audit Thursday at noon. Also, don't forget, catch me again Saturday at 12 Eastern time on Sirius XM Channel 29. I'm hosting Crowd Control on Fish Radio, and I'm picking my top favorite jams and talking about what going to those shows and the culture and the experience means to me. All right, everybody, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you tomorrow. So remember, you've got one life, so blaze on. And as Anthony would say, be kind to yourself.